Hey, what's up? Welcome to Enhancing the Human Experience, the podcast designed to help you get the most out of life. So in this episode, it's all about how to do the hardest thing in the world. And of course, as we all know, the hardest thing in the world is only eating half a pint of Haagen-Dazs and putting the other half back in the freezer. That's the hardest thing in the world. I'm kidding. That's not the hardest thing in the world. That's the second hardest thing in the world. The hardest thing in the world is remaining open to everything and attached to nothing, like our good friend, the guru, the great guru, Wayne Dyer talked about. That's the hardest thing in the world. And the second hardest thing in the world is the ice cream thing. For me, it's been this salted caramel cluster cashew ice cream. Have you had this? They also make a snickerdoodle. It's absolutely amazing. I got those two monkeys on my back and I need to get them off there. And I'm not even plugging, this is not an endorsement for that. I'm not being paid to advertise it. I think it's made by a company called So Delicious. They also do soy stuff, but they make this cashew ice cream. It's absolutely amazing. And it's cashew milk. So it's good for you, right? I think you can still get fat on that stuff, though. I'm pretty sure you can actually get fat on that. So I got to watch that. But it's absolutely phenomenal. It's so delicious. I just eat the whole thing. And then I don't put the other half back in the freezer. It's crazy. But okay, I digress. Let's get back into our regularly scheduled program here. So why is this important? Being able to remain open to everything and attached to nothing. And specifically, we're talking about ideas. We're going to the root, right? It's always about an idea. Any enhancement in your life always begins with an idea. Remaining open to new ideas to have more enhanced, to better enhance your life, right? Better health, better wealth, new ways of being, new ways of doing, new ways of thinking. All of these things enhance the human experience. So it's really, really important to remain open to these new ideas. I sometimes think that the worst way to go through life is with a closed, narrow mind. I actually think that's kind of like a hell on earth, right? Because you're never improving your situation in that state, right? You're not open to new ideas. And as we'll talk about in a moment, which is the how to remain open to new ideas and attached to nothing, which is the crux of, that's what we want to do is remain open, but how do we do it? So I have a simple suggestion that I use, and I think you're going to really like it because it kind of encompasses and covers the whole thing, the whole spectrum. But again, we have to remain open to new ideas or our lives won't improve. And this is a huge struggle for human beings because we become so conditioned to our way of thinking that we block out any new idea. And I think this is where the ego comes into play, right? The ego attaches to a way of thinking, a way of being. And when another idea is introduced to you, your ego automatically slaps it down, right? Regardless of whether it's absolutely amazing for you or not. The ego says, no, I've got an idea and I'm holding on to this one for dear life and I'm going to take it to my grave with me, right? So that's where we need to override our ego and realize that evolution of consciousness and of living is always happening, right? And this is in fact the how do we do it. We realize that the human experience is always evolving. There's better things down the road for us if we allow them, if we let them into our experience. If we don't, there's the same thing down the road for us. It's like Groundhog Day every day, right? If we keep the same mindset and we never allow a new idea in and explore it, right? And work it over and look at it and ask, is this a better way of doing things? Is this a better way of thinking? Am I going to have better experiences if I adopt this new idea? Now, we still have to be discriminatory of ideas, right? We can't just adopt every idea that comes to us because some ideas are stupid. Let's just be honest. Let's just be frank about it. Some ideas are stupid. But that's where we have to use discrimination and say, hey, I'm going to look at this thing. I'm going to be open to it because I'm of the mindset and I'm of the wisdom that a better idea will change what I do and change the way I do it, and I'll get better results, right? And again, in any area of your life, in your health, your wealth, your relationships, right? New ways of interacting with family, friends, and loved ones. these kind of things are always available to us. So we have to remain open to these new type of ideas. And so that, I believe, is really the hardest thing in the universe. Let's go big with it. Let's even go beyond the world, in the universe, for human beings to do. And all it is shifting your mindset and realizing change will happen, evolution will happen, human beings, the human experience will get better. It's designed like that, right? This constant awakening. This is like the lotus flower opening up, which is like the metaphor for awakening consciousness. And it's a constant blossoming of better and better experiences in life. But it's not going to happen if we keep our lotus flower, our consciousness, closed on lockdown, and we become really rigid. And you probably know people like this, or maybe you've seen this in your own life. I've certainly seen it in my life, where I become closed to new ideas. But the idea is that we want to remove that thinking. We want to disintegrate and dissolve that type of thinking, because it's super detrimental to our happiness and our well-being and the well-being of others, right? Many people go to their graves clinging on to their ego story, and it's very sad, right? This is what we want to awaken to our non-ego story, right? And we want to get better every day. So I think that's the hardest thing in the world. And our quote today is from Wayne Dyer, and he's the one who said it, right? He said, "Have a mind that is open to everything and attached to nothing." So that's the quote of the week from Wayne Dyer. And he gave us so many great things, and that is one of them, right? Remain open to everything and attached to nothing. So that's the podcast. That's this episode of Enhancing the Human Experience. And I do want to add, if you didn't catch last week's podcast, my good friend Alejandro Anastasio stopped by, and we're working on a project. We've been working on a couple projects on the side, and I interviewed him about his new podcast, One Hand Speaks. If you haven't checked it out, it's absolutely phenomenal. Alejandro is a professional speaker. He traveled to Malaysia in 2015 and competed in the World Championship of Public Speaking. Now, let me say that again. The World Championship of Public Speaking. That's a person you want to listen to, because he is an amazing storyteller. He's given 2 TED Talks, has a phenomenal command of speech and presence, and captivating his audience. So I highly encourage you to check out that podcast. You can find it on iTunes. Just search for One Hand Speaks, or you can also find it on his website, onehandspeaks.com. You will not be disappointed. It's absolutely phenomenal. So that's it. We're going to wrap it up there. And I wish you all the best, health, wealth, and success. Until next time, thanks very much. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.